The House will come to order. Today, our pledge is going to be just a little delayed. We have a guest coming from Assistant Minority Leader Winters' district. She's been caught in traffic, and so we would hate to rob her of the opportunity to give the pledge after driving for 3 hours. So we're going to move the pledge a little further back, and we're going to start with Mr. Schiebel calling the roll.
Representatives Bacon. Here. Barone. Here. Basenecker. Bottoms. Bradfield. Bradley. Brooks. Brown. Representative Brown. Caldwell. Camacho. Carter. Clifford. Representative Clifford.
Excused.
DeGraff. Duran. English. Espinoza. Representative Espinoza. She is here. Foray. Flannel. Froelich. Garcia. Garcia Sander. Gilchrist. Goldstein. Gonzalez. Hamrick. Hartsook. Jackson. Johnson. Joseph. Kelty. Leader. Lindsay. Luck. Lukens. Mabry. Marshall. Martinez. Morrow. McCormick. Wynn. Pascal. Phillips. Richardson. Ricks. Representative Ricks is excused. Rutinel. Ryden. Sirota. Slaw. Representative Slaw. Is excused. Smith. Soper. Representative Soper. Is that him? Stuart K. Rep. Stuart R. is excused. Story. Sukla. Taggart. Titone. Rep. Valdez is excused. Velasco. Representative Velasco is excused. Weinberg. Wilford. Representative Wilford is excused. Winter. Woodrow. Woog. Zokai. And Madam Speaker is excused.
Good, 58-7. Okay. Great. The House will stand in a brief recess. The House will come back to order. Members, it's not every day that we get to welcome guests from Honey, Colorado, but today is one of those special days, and I would ask that you would rise and join me in the pledge, which is led by Jade Mala from Honey Elementary, Honey, Colorado, guest of Assistant Minority Leader Ty Winter, House District 47.
I pledge allegiance to the flag and the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is that now? Okay.
Representative Sukla. Oh, excuse me. We have a quorum present with 61 present, 4 excused. Representative Sukla.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, Tim? Yeah. Come to this side, you'll enjoy it. I'll sell on cattle to you now. Here, 45. Here, signal, 48 bid. Vote yes, 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 yes. I move the Journal of Wednesday, February 11th, 2026 be approved and corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The motion is approved. Members, I'd ask you to take your seat. We're going to continue with business. Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move to proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for the consideration of resolutions. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 26010.
Senate Joint Resolution 10 by Senator Gonzalez, also Representatives Wynn and Soper, concerning the celebration of Lunar New Year 2026.
Representatives Wynn and Soper. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move Senate Joint Resolution 2610 and ask that it be read at length.
Mr. Schiebel.
Whereas Colorado became the second U.S. state to recognize Lunar New Year Day, which became an observed state holiday in 2024 after the passage of House Bill 23-1271, which designated the first Friday of every February as an observed state holiday. And whereas the official observation of Lunar New Year Day in Colorado was made possible by the work of Vietnamese refugee and founder and chair of the Lunar New Year Allies Advisory Group, Nia Vong Sandoval, who spearheaded the efforts to establish the state holiday. And whereas Lunar New Year allows Coloradans the opportunity to celebrate Asian American culture and recognize an important part of the fabric of United States diversity. And whereas Lunar New Year can be traced back to the 14th century BC in China and is based on the lunar calendar. And whereas the beginning of the Lunar New Year usually commences between late January and mid-February and is one of the most important holidays for many Asian American communities. And whereas Lunar New Year 2026, the Year of the Horse, will be celebrated on February 17th. And whereas Asians and the Asian diaspora have expanded the Lunar New Year celebration into an annual week-long worldwide event that is celebrated by about 2/3 of Asian Americans and many Asians and non-Asians from China, Vietnam, Taiwan, South Korea, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, and many other places. And whereas over 2 billion people celebrate Lunar New Year worldwide, with many returning home to spend time with family and share blessings of being together with loved ones. And whereas during Lunar New Year, it is customary to wish good fortune, health, prosperity, and happiness on those around you. The holiday is celebrated in the United States and across the globe. And whereas Asian Americans have served in the Colorado General Assembly in the state's 150 years, including Filipino American Rep. Dennis Apuan, and currently serving Vietnamese American Rep. Kenny Van Nguyen, and Asian Americans currently serve throughout state government, including Japanese American Acting Agriculture Commissioner Robert Sakata and Office of New Americans Director D. Daniel Scriven. And whereas the Asian American community is the fastest growing population in the United States, and the popularity of the holiday continues to grow. And whereas the Colorado General Assembly's exemplary enactment of an observed Lunar New Year holiday and continual recognition of Asian culture, holiday, cuisine, and traditions, as well as working across party lines, has had a very real and positive impact on Asian American Coloradans and brought peace, prosperity, and goodwill throughout the state. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, join our Asian communities in celebrating the Lunar New Year, that we invite Coloradans to attend events that celebrate Lunar New Year and promote local Asian American communities, that we honor and respect our Asian American community members, particularly for their entrepreneurialism, commitment to innovating and advancing new technologies, strong family values and culture, that increasing the visibility of cultural traditions that are widely celebrated among the Asian diaspora would serve as a counterbalance to the marginalization that many in the Asian American community have encountered over the past several years, and that it is appropriate to recognize the culture and historical significance of Lunar New Year and acknowledge all individuals who celebrate this significant occasion by reaffirming Colorado's commitment to recognizing and celebrating Asian Americans and their contributions to our great state.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. With your permission, would like to first introduce our special guests here in the chamber and then deliver brief remarks and go into a short recess.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. We'll each introduce the guests that we invited, and then maybe we could hold applause until the end. First, I'd like to ask that they stand. Acting Agricultural Commissioner Robert Sakata, Japanese Consul General, and I am really going to botch your name, and I'm very sorry. I will leave it at that, but thank you very much. It's a tongue twister, but thank you for being here. We also have the Consul General from Taiwan. We have the Taiwan Colorado Chamber of Commerce present as well. We have the Honorable Joe Jefferson Inglewood Municipal Court with us today.
And for me, I would like to also recognize members of the Refugees and Immigrants United and the Lunar New Year Allies Advisory Group, LUNA, Na Vang Sandoval, Magaline Mook, Alvina Hoot, Diane Tao, John Lee, Kevin Chen, Christine Young.
Representative Espinosa.
Thank you. And I am introducing Mimi Trong, who is the creator of the Far East Center, or at least the leader of the Far East Center. Where's Mimi? And she has brought with her additional special guests, which we will see, and if they would rise as well.
Thank you.
Members, please join us in welcoming our guests. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, and members, you may be seated. Just want to give a couple of comments on the significance of Lunar New Year and this particular resolution. This is a historic first for Colorado to do a Lunar New Year resolution within the General Assembly. As you heard in the resolution, it was 2 years ago that we proclaimed Lunar New Year an observed state holiday, and it was celebrated for the first time last year. Many other states have started to join us in recognizing Lunar New Year as an observed holiday. It's, of course, very difficult for those in the West to be able to pick a holiday that is on a lunar calendar when we have a Gregorian calendar, and it's a little bit challenging. So our day does not necessarily match the actual day of Lunar New Year, which is the 17th of February this year. I will say this is my last year in the House of Representatives, so it's bittersweet. But every year, starting in 2020, I have given all the members of the House a red envelope in recognition of whatever animal year it is. This year, it's the year of the horse. It's for the majority leader. And we also have some pineapple cakes that we included as well, and a little a trinket to remind you of the significance of Lunar New Year. The pineapple represents fortune, and you see that all throughout the Asian culture. You also see that in the founding of America. George Washington also recognized the significance of the pineapple, and you see that reflected even throughout Mount Vernon and during the first state dinner that we had in the United States. I want to say that it's significant to be able to recognize the fact that for the first time we have a member of our body who comes from Asia, from at least Southeast Asia, and our acting agricultural commissioner is also from Asia, or his family originated from Japan. And the contributions that we have seen from Japanese Americans, from Taiwanese Americans, from Vietnamese Americans, Korean Americans, Filipino Americans, the list continues on down, has been significant to our state and to our state's economy. In conclusion, I do want to say a few words in Mandarin Chinese, we will learn a few words together. Xingning Kuai La. We'll repeat. Xingling Kuai La.
Xingling
Kuai La. That means Happy New Year. And then to say congratulations and good fortune is Gong Xi Fa Shai.
Gong Xi Fao Shai.
Wow, I heard some really good pronunciations here. So Happy New Year.
Representative Nguyen.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Speaker Pro Tem, my apologies. Tongue twister.
You've got it.
It is an honor to serve with you.
Honored to serve with you, sir.
This is a powerful occasion. Colorado is the second state in the entire nation to recognize Lunar New Year. And I just want to wish you a happy Lunar New Year. Or I would say in Vietnamese, Chúc mừng năm mới, and I will not make you respond in unison after that. It is an immense privilege to also be here as well. As Colorado's first Vietnamese American elected official to the State Assembly, my history and my background, I stand on the shoulders of refugees and immigrants. My father was a boat person. He escaped from Vietnam after the fall of Saigon. My grandfather and my mother also fled Vietnam after the end of the Vietnam War. And so today we gather into unison to celebrate the new year, the Lunar New Year, the year of the horse. And so the horse is a symbol of strength, perseverance, and it's also the Denver Broncos mascot, so I'm a big fan of that as well. So there must be a good times for Super Bowl 61. But I think that, when 1.5 to 2 billion people celebrate this holiday, it is powerful to be here. And again, to all the folks who have come far and wide, I appreciate you. For all the Asian Americans who have gathered and who celebrate this holiday, I wish you a Chúc mừng năm mới, Happy New Year. So thank you so much. Please vote yes on this resolution, and it's an honor to serve with all y'all here today. Thank you.
Representative Espinosa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I rise in support of this resolution in large part because I'm fortunate to have the Far East Center in House District 4. The Far East Center is a definite recognition of the economic, sustainability and the presence of the Asian community that opened its heart to Denver. If you ever need the best food, definitely head out to the Far East Center and frankly all along Federal Boulevard, although some of that is in the other representative from Denver district, so we fight over who has the best food because half of it's in mine and half of it's in his. But I do stand here today to also invite people to the Far East Center. The celebrations of Lunar New Year will be on the weekend of the 21st, not this weekend, but the next weekend, whatever those dates are. So please come out, enjoy wonderful celebrations. There'll be line dancers, there's amazing food, there's amazing community. And so we ask you to come, enjoy House District 4, enjoy the Lunar New Year celebration with us, and let's thank all of our Asian community who stand as real models of people in this society that we can respect, that teach us how we are to be all part of the American dream. I am very lucky to be a representative of House District 4 and the Far East Center. Please join us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to put us in a brief recess and then have you introduce our guests.
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. There is at your desk, I'm following in my good colleague from Delta's tradition, I added the Year of the Horse Fortune, so there is a scratch off on the back. It's not gambling, I promise. It is this is for good fortune. Please see what your fortune is today.
Wonderful. The House will stand in a... Representative Soper, this is actually your third time speaking, which is why I'm just going to put us in a recess, and then we'll be in good shape. The House will stand in a brief recess. Perfect. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I appreciate following rules. Now that we're in a brief recess, we have a special treat for the entire House. We've invited the lion dancers, which is very significant in the Asian culture, the Chinese culture, to come. And so if you're sitting alongside the gallery, please watch your feet. Yeah. They will be on both sides, and we'll only... just take a second. Oh, I guess they're coming down the middle, so please watch out and enjoy a little bit of Chinese culture for about 3 minutes.
Are they chewing the lettuce and throwing it at everybody?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
If I were them, I would.
It's about to get loud.
Yes, very loud.
Yeah.
And just watch your feet.
You got to pet him. Sure.
They're going to be giving you a gift, I think.
selfie real quick with the three of us. Thank you so much.
I think we want to go to the
Yep.
back.
Members, please join me in giving our guests one last round of applause. Thank you so much for being here today.
Great.
The House will come back to order. Members, we will continue with business, including voting on the resolution. House will stand in a brief recess. The House will come back to order. Members, I'd invite you to take your seats. We'll proceed to adopt this wonderful resolution that we've had the privilege of celebrating this morning. Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 26010. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Members, if you could take your seats, we are voting. Please close the machine. With 60 aye votes, 5 excused, 0 no votes, the resolution is adopted. Co-sponsors. Rep. Ricks, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Members, before we proceed into third reading, we're going to do announcements and introductions next. Representative Wilford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. The State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee will meet upon adjournment in LSBA to hear House Bills 1140 and House Bill 1049 for action only. Again, this is upon adjournment. After 15 minutes, LSBA, be there.
Mr. Assistant Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Colleagues, I'm excited today. My alma mater, the school I went to, K through 12, they made the 3.5-hour bus ride here today to be able to be part of this, and I think it was awesome for them. So if you'll please welcome the students of Honey Grade School, 5th grade class, and a shout out to my daughter Skylar. This is her class. Thank you all for being here.
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. The House Agriculture, Water, and Natural Resources Committee will meet 15 minutes upon adjournment downstairs in room 107 to hear House Bill 1034.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, or thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. The House Education Committee will be meeting at 1:30 in room 107. We will be hearing House Bill 1090 and 1029.
Representative English.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Happy Black History Day, every day, guys. The hidden figure today, presented by the Black Caucus, is W.E.B. Du Bois. He's a sociologist and a writer. W.E.B. Du Bois was a pioneer and scholar, activist, and leader who helped shape the struggle for civil rights in America. He was a co-founder of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and the first African American to earn a PhD from Harvard University. As a renowned sociologist, historian, author, editor, and Pan-Africanist, Du Bois used his voice and intellect to challenge racism and injustice. He introduced the concept of double conscious to describe the inner conflict faced by Black Americans in a segregated society. And his influential book, The Souls of Black Folk, in 1903, examined the barriers to equality while calling for education and leadership within the Black community. Du Bois challenged more gradual approaches to racial progress, instead demanding immediate civil rights and promoting the development of a talented tenth of educated Black leaders. Through his writing, activism, and leadership in the NAACP, he helped organize the fight against segregation and disenfranchisement, leaving a lasting legacy of intellectual empowerment and social justice. Hidden figure W.E.B. Du Bois. Happy Black History Day.
Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. It's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you.
Colleagues, the House Finance Committee will be meeting 15 minutes upon adjournment to hear House Bill 1015 and House Bill 1005 for action only. See you then.
One piece of housekeeping. I will replace Representative R. Stewart on House Finance for today only. Representatives Martinez and Morrow. Team Pueblo and San Luis Valley. Representative Morrow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I would like to welcome Leadership Pueblo. They're up there in the gallery. This is a distinguished group that brings together community leaders committed to strengthening Pueblo through civic engagement, collaboration, and service. These individuals represent the very best of Pueblo, and thank you for being here today.
Representative Clifford.
That was a quick change. Good morning, Madam Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you.
Members, today we have Disability Rights Advocacy Day. So you will see a lot of our disabled friends that are in the Capitol. They will be lobbying your offices for a number of bills. There will also be an opportunity for those people who have been part of disability bills or run disability bills to speak to the community. We'll start the speaking engagements downstairs at 12:30 today, so that hopefully we will be off the floor by then. Please join us for all of their festivities today. Thank you.
Representatives, a few. Who would like to speak? Representative Garcia Sander.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We just would like to give a shout out, those of us who represent and are adjacent to District 6. It is District 6 Day at the Capitol, so shout out to our directors and staff members of District 6 in Greeley. Thank you for being here.
Representative Gonzalez.
Top of the morning to you, Madam Speaker.
Top of the morning to you.
If there's any students as well in the gallery, or if you see students throughout, just be sure to reach out to them, say hello, and let them know that we support our public schools, also with given the school finance act that will be coming up here. But you know, my district is one of the largest districts in my county, so I appreciate everything the directors do to make sure we are innovative and we continue. We have a great superintendent and we have awesome students, so thank you.
Representative Slaw.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you, District 6, for coming down here to the Capitol. You guys are great. As a representative that has a huge part of Greeley and a number of schools from District 6 in my district, and potentially my first girlfriend when I was a kid, was from District 6, so it is a favorite.
There's a story there, Representative Slaw. Representative Hamrick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, please welcome the 81 students, 15 chaperones from Woodland Elementary School in Cherry Creek Schools, grade 4. They are here to meet you all and talk about civics and good governance and all that. So they are wandering about in the building. Also, please welcome Adams 14, Superintendent Loria with 5 students and school board member here also. So I would encourage you to seek them out as well. They are here to talk about education policy and they're very much engaged in good governance. So thank you.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to acknowledge that I have a school board member here from one of my districts, Canyon City, and so I hope you have an opportunity to meet with him at some point today.
Good morning, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move House Bill 26-1150 on third reading and final passage.
Thank you, Madam Majority Leader. I'm going to have Mr. Schiebel read the title first. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1150. Members, we are on thirds. Please take your seats.
House Bill 1150 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Agriculture.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1150 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1150 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 58 aye, 5 no, 2 excused, House Bill 1150 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1151.
House Bill 1151 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Corrections.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1151 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This body had a robust discussion around this supplemental yesterday, and I didn't speak then, mainly because passions were high and more people were exiting the room. I did want to make a few comments, though. It was suggested that there might be some in this room who are not bothered by the very lengthy list of individuals who are otherwise eligible for parole who cannot access parole because of DOC policies and the staffing issues that they have. I want to go on record and say that is an issue that concerns me greatly. To have individuals who have served their time, who are not yet being released because of some bureaucratic checkboxes that they have no control over checking, that's a problem. And it's a problem that we in this body need to address, and I hope to see some bills to that end. I agree wholeheartedly. I also want to note, though, that the people in corrections are solely reliant on this building. Solely reliant. Unlike some of the other departments that we are going to consider today, where people can find other avenues for things like health care, the people in DOC are solely reliant on us. We are their caretakers. We are their fiduciaries. We are their responsible parties. And if you look at this supplemental, Yes, there is $2.4 million going for an additional 788 state beds. There's also $12.5 million going for medical services, $10 million going for mental health contracts. On the whole, this request has to do with the care of the people already incarcerated. I know there are those who do not want to see these additional beds opened up without other requirements being met by the DOC, and I think those are fair conversations to have. I don't, however, think that we can hold hostage the people who are currently in prison while having those conversations. I think that we have an obligation to ensure that they are being treated humanely. And so for that reason, I ask this body to vote in favor of this appropriation to the Department of Corrections. But I also ask this body to look at bills that even could be introduced this session to address those other very concerning situations that are facing our inmate population. Thank you for listening.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I spoke yesterday on this. And we have a prison system because people that find themselves unable to not violate the rights of others need to be separated from the society so that we can have them not violate the rights of others, because the job of this body, the job of government, is to secure those rights, those self-evident creator, those certain self-evident creator-endowed rights. So it is imperative on us that we also treat them humanely, because they did not stop being human, they did not stop being persons, right? So we need to make sure that that is, but I have, I have a hard time with how we are in really the first days of this session, and we're already spending money on things that were last year's budget when we started off in a deficit. We started off with $4.5 billion of certificates of participation, so participation trophies, if you will, debt that identifies as non-debt, but is still debt. And how we can just come into this room and then we just start saying, oh, well, that budget that we had, that was shortfall, we had a shortfall of billions of dollars. We just need to add millions and millions more to it. And I'm not really sure how that works, because we haven't taken apart the budget and found and identified and eliminated all of the redundancy, all of the duplicity, and the duplicity that's in it, all of the fraud, whether it's intentional or unintentional. We've lost hundreds of millions of dollars for things like the wheelchair scam. We have not disassembled that program to make sure that we are spending the citizens' money wisely. And when we're talking about spending money wisely, I have a hard time thinking that the Department of Corrections needs more money when the governor can keep a political prisoner 70 years old, not in for any sort of violent crime, recently assaulted, and rumor has it that this person who recently assaulted, decades younger, has been offered parole for being the goon squad of the governor, the secretary, and the AG. And so I have a hard time saying that this department needs money when we can keep a nonviolent alleged criminal, somebody who is a whistleblower try to enforce the Civil Rights Act by making sure that our laws, that our election laws that are derived, many of which are derived from the Civil Rights Act, not the Civil Rights Act of 1866 that was canceled by a lot of policies. The original Civil Rights Act, 1866, we're talking about the Civil Rights Act that we generally, so that incorporates the laws of election, and that was what she was trying to protect in adherence with the federal law, but in violation of the Secretary of State's rules. Yet we have the money, the governor has the money to keep a 70-year-old nonviolent individual Gold Star mom in prison indefinitely, and then the person that they're going to offer parole, apparently, is the person who assaulted her, who was in jail for
Representative
violent
DeGraff,
crime.
I'll just bring you back to the content of our bill. I appreciate an example of a case, but please back to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But I'm talking about why we're spending money. We're talking about why we have to spend money on this issue when we have this money available. Obviously, we have extra money available. I think somebody talked about yesterday that it costs at least $56,000 per year to house a criminal. Well, there's $56,000 that we don't need. So I have a hard time believing that the state needs more money. I have a hard time believing that we are just rubber stamping money to go into these programs because they were underfunded last year, which means we didn't do our job right last year. We didn't do our job, we just didn't do our job correctly. So there's probably a legitimate need for this, because I know that the beds were cut during COVID. We've had this talk in El Paso County. The beds for this were cut during COVID, because during COVID that was used as an excuse to purge the jails, release a lot of violent criminals onto the street, a lot of criminals in general onto the street. Imagine that, crime went up. And then it was said, well, we have all these extra beds, so we just need to cut these extra beds and get rid of that. And oh, by the way, then we can spend that money on other pet projects. And then we don't have the beds to put so we have the beds, we just don't really have the staff to actually have the beds, the classification of the beds. It's like with the hospitals saying that we don't have the hospital beds, when we in fact do have the hospital beds. We just don't have the staff because this General Assembly has chased so much of that staff out. So we have the beds, we don't have the staff, yet we have the money to keep a political prisoner on behalf of the governor. And I just think that's wrong, and I think that says that we don't have our priorities in order. And I think that says we don't just solve this easily. And I think all these budget items, yeah, they probably need more money, but there's $100 million that I can think of right off the bat in the governor's green grift that this could come out of. But that is the actual priority. Now we're going to act like this is a priority because we're going to stack it on top of the billions of dollars in debt that we already have, when we're going to ignore all of that other money. We're going to ignore the $5 billion that's being taxed out of the citizens' pockets in terms of their energy prices in order to go into the high speed, the fast track to nowhere. We're going to ignore all of that money. And we're going to act like we're doing the citizens' business instead of doing the business to the citizens, which is what these 2 days are all about. Stop pretending like you care. You don't care.
Representative DeGraff, I think it is presumptuous for you to make a statement about how people feel in this room.
Okay. Stop acting like it's a priority when you fund it as an afterthought. Madam Speaker, is that acceptable to say?
You know, Representative DeGraff, I encourage you to continue to speak with respect to your colleagues.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I will say, stop acting like it's a priority. Stop acting like these are priorities when you fund them as an afterthought. We know what the priorities are. This is not a priority. Protecting the citizens is not a priority. Paving thousands of acres and stringing thousands of miles of lines is a priority. Snuffing out the image of God is a priority. Protecting citizens is not. So I'm going to be a no on this. Whether or not this is actually needed, we have the money. Most of that money is just sitting in the ground because of the green agenda. And we could pay for all this stuff, except for if you just wildly overestimate 100% of 33 degrees of Celsius, of 0.125 billion tons divided by 3,300 billion tons is 0.0012 degrees Celsius. If you use the absolute maximum of the consensus science, which isn't science at all. And so for the citizens up here in the gallery, where you should be, looking down.
Representative DeGraff, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That's where your money is going, 0.0012 degrees Celsius. This body is going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars of yours not protecting you from the criminals that need to be separated from society because they cannot not violate your rights, but because their priority is snuffing out the image of God and trying to save you from 0.0012 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to be a no, because this, as if nothing else, just as a protest of this body's inability to set its priorities straight, or even have priorities in general. Well, no, it does have priorities. It's just not the citizens of Colorado. And when you spend the money of citizens of Colorado on things that don't benefit the citizens of Colorado, that is theft.
Representative English.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I just came up here to reiterate why I will also be a no on this particular bill. And it is important that we do the job that we were elected to do. And we need to make it make sense for the state of Colorado. And I know some of us run on the platform of criminal justice reform, which myself, that happens to be one of my platforms, because I'm really true to this work and true to authentic criminal justice reform. Because we know, whether you admit it or not, that the system in Colorado is not a fair system. And I'm not ashamed to say it and tell the state of Colorado that it's not a fair system. And I will always prioritize funding education over DOC any day. I'm not voting to give you more beds. I'm not voting to continue to be tough on crime, because the thing is, I just really don't think we're tough on crime. When you do something that's not okay, there is a consequence. However, like my colleague came down and stated, the people who have served their time need to be paroled. Then you won't need to come and ask for money for some beds, because you'll have beds freed up for the people who have served their time and deserve to come back into society with the opportunity to give back in a meaningful way. And that's why I will continue to come down and speak up and advocate for people to be treated with dignity and respect. They made a bad call, they served their time. All this nonsense about adding beds, it's ridiculous. And anytime, I'll say the numbers again, because Colorado taxpayers need to know where our dollars are going. $56,000 a year to house what people want to call criminals. But less than $12,000 to fund each student so that they can get the high quality education that they deserve. Colorado, this is not okay. We need to make it make sense, because right now it does not make sense. And when it doesn't make sense, we're obligated as elected officials leading the state of Colorado to make it make sense through policy. All this politicking and moving things around and all of that, I'm not with that. I believe that the dollars that we pay as taxpayers should be properly allocated to the programs and the wraparound services that we need. Because if you want to get to the meat and potatoes of it and the issues, perhaps we wouldn't have criminals if we would fund mental health services more. Let's start right there. Something is wrong. There's an issue. We need to deal with the let's fund mental health. We don't have to keep funding DOC, because I believe they have the money that they need, and it's just not being properly allocated after it leaves the state and goes to their hands. That's what I personally believe, and I stand on that. And so we want to be in here talking about we're here to help people, I'm the voice for my community, then show up and vote for your community. And don't be scared to vote no on something you know you need to vote no on. Sometimes you have to vote your conscience, because some weird, twisted way, right has become wrong and wrong has become right. And I don't understand it. I'm not in here in this chamber playing games every day. I may come off a little harsh, but it's because I'm passionate about helping people. And I mean what I say, and I'm not no liar. And I don't give feel-good messages to be in this building, because I'm truly here to help people. And I want to make sure our dollars are being properly allocated. We need to fund education. We need to fund mental health. We need to make sure people can feed their families. We need to make sure people can have a living wage. All the things we run on, and then get in here and seem to, never mind. Anyway, y'all know what I'm trying to say. I don't want to get the gavel, so I'll just digress. But I'm going to close with this. Colorado, we need to shift our priorities. And if we're really serious about criminal justice reform, our policies should reflect that. If we're really serious about educating our kids, ensuring that they have what they need to be successful and get the high quality education they need, then we need to fund education and not DOC. I'm a no.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1151 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Ricks votes no. Please close the machine. With 45 ayes, 17 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1151 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Camacho, did your button malfunction? Thank you. Representative Camacho, how do you vote? Yes. Representative Camacho votes yes. Please close the machine.
You're on my side.
Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1152.
House Bill 1152 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Early Childhood.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1152 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1152 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Camacho, does your button work? Representative Camacho says yes. Please close the machine. With 43 aye, 20 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1152 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1153.
House Bill 1153 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Education.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1153 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1153 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebo, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 51 aye, 12 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1153 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1154.
House Bill 1154 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the offices of the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and State Planning and Budgeting.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1154 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Bradley. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1154 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebo, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Smith and Soper. Representative Soper is excused with a $1 fine. We're early in session. Please close the machine. With 45 ayes, 17 no, and 3 excused, House Bill 1154 is adopted. Co-sponsors.
I did. Yeah, nice.
Please close the machine. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1155.
House Bill 1155 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1155 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think you guys heard a lot from me yesterday about this. As a provider, I don't understand why this is one of the first things on the chopping block when we are seeking another $170 million through these supplementals. I know that they said that this department was audited, but 9 News just came out with another report that 2 Colorado residents are facing federal charges for allegedly defrauding Medicaid over $4 million through false transport claims. This was just yesterday. And then we turn the page, the NEMT Corrective Action Plan, they're seeking, or they have $25 million in rider fraud. And then we have the wheelchair problems, where 9 counties billed about $662 for extra large wheelchair transport versus $65 in 9 counties over 10 years. So you tell me if that was a good audit, because I keep seeing day after day more fraud in this department that gets $9 billion from the federal government. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut provider rates, 1.6%. 1.6% for the providers in your district are going to have their rates cut. And on top of that, now we're gonna tell you that you can only charge 85% of what Medicare charges. Some of us are barely able to charge for our services, if not taking a cut for that. We have families, we have stayed in Colorado to support your communities by providing care to people in your communities. I'm asking you to think about your vote on this one. Don't just go with the flow. Your governor puts providers last in this state. Over $800,000 for the Office of Film. Think about that. You have providers in your districts. We have rural health deserts in your district, so much that OB wards and cardiac wards are closing so that your constituents have to drive in weather, sometimes an hour, on country roads to deliver a baby because we're taking away OB services. I need you guys to listen. I need you to think about this. Last year we begged in the long bill, got it back because you stood for providers. Do the same thing today. Do you want these maternal health deserts? Do you want lack of access for mental health? Do you want your people not to have cardiac help in your districts? That's what this is doing. Tell the governor no. And then let's talk about the IDD and DD communities. We would have gotten a federal match for what they are cutting for personal care, homemaker, and health maintenance activities. These parents and caregivers can't even find providers to come into their homes to help take care of their very sick and disabled children. Catheter care. I don't even know if you guys know what that means. Feeding tubes, toileting, carrying them up and down the stairs. And a lot of these parents and caregivers have left good paying jobs to care for their children. I am passionate about this because I just went through this with my son. These are people in our district, you guys. They have sent us email after email. And what are we gonna do? We're gonna cut that for them. There's nothing right about that. There's nothing right about cutting provider rates when we saw a mass exodus after COVID, when we forced vaccinations on the providers that provided care during all of that. There is nothing good about this. I am urging you, I'm begging you to vote no on this. Make them go back to the drawing board and figure it out somewhere else. The providers in your district don't deserve it. The patients in your district don't deserve a lack of access to health care and good providers. We're in a mental health care crisis. We're begging people to come and give mental health. And now we're gonna cut their provider rates. Do you guys understand that hypocrisy? You can't clean this up and kick the can down the road. Stop doing that. Say no. Say no. We will support the providers and the parents of the IDD and DD communities in this place. We will not let the executive branch determine what our budget is. Please, I'm asking you, from a provider and a mom who has a disabled child, don't do this. Vote no. Send a message.
Representative Marshall.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you.
I'm standing here next to my colleague to emphasize the seriousness of what we're looking at. In fact, I was supposed to be sitting next to my colleague, who I get along with very well, but because we are in districts adjoining each other in the same county, with diametrically opposed political viewpoints, I decided that that's really not a good idea.
Fair.
But we get along very well, and we are totally united on this issue, except I do disagree with one of her points. She said we're putting providers last. No, we're putting the disabled last. We're putting the IDD community last in this budget. We have a $1.1 billion deficit, and people want to toss around blame games rather than work the issue. It's a fact. We have a $1.1 billion deficit. Where it came from, how it came from, that's not as important as what we need to do and close that $1.1 billion gap. I told constituents in town halls when we were coming in, there's really only 3 major places we could get the money to close something that big. That's public safety, public education, and healthcare/Medicaid. We weren't going to be touching public safety because the voters already put that $350 million directive on us. Public education, everyone politically will say, well, we closed that budget stabilization factor, so we're not going to touch that. But I told them, yeah, we're probably going to cut it and say we didn't. We'll do some machinations on counting, and it'll get less money, but we'll say we didn't cut it. But the money is going to be coming out of Medicaid and Medicare, and we know that, out of health care. And they're ready for that. They understand. But it's difficult for me to sit there and tell them with a straight face, we did everything we could. Yesterday, we tried to take $750,000 from a film office that had $1.2 million to send it to the disabled community, and it would be doubled with federal matching funds for $1.5 million. And all of a sudden, the entire film industry in Colorado would collapse. Sundance Films wouldn't come. That makes no sense whatsoever. I read you the statute. We at the state had a $1.1 billion hit. Circumstances have changed. Boulder, the city, the county, and the rich patrons of Sundance could close at $750,000. Circumstances changed, so we could spend that money, tax money, on something that can't help themselves, the disabled. We had a $3.4 million tax credit for Sundance. And I said, hey, everyone said, no, don't worry about it. It comes out of Tabor surplus. Guess what? No surplus. Coming straight out of our general fund, which means straight out of Medicaid and K through 12. And I like Sundance. Everyone thinks I hate it. They think I hate Boulder. That's not true. There was no reason for Boulder. Boulder's great. They were never going to Cincinnati. They were never going to Salt Lake City and staying in Utah. They offered $2 million in Cincinnati. They offered $5 million in Salt Lake City. We, on an equal basis, didn't have to give them $1. Cincinnati had to give them $80 million to come there.
And Rep.
We
Marshall,
didn't.
I'll just direct you back to Hickpuff.
We're talking about the money that we're spending here, sir.
I hear you, and I think you've made your point.
So on Advocacy Day, and then we do $5 million from a temporary, let me make that clear, COVID Business Resiliency Fund, and we set up a permanent $5 million redundant organization to the SBA, pat ourselves on the back. So we're already looking at 0.75, 3.4, $5 million, just on 3 places. That's $9 million. And if we put it to the disabled, it would be doubled by federal matching funds for $18 million. That's starting to sound like real money that can help people. We should be protecting the most vulnerable right now, but instead we're protecting the donor classes. It seems like the law of the jungle has become the law of politics. The strong are getting all the loaves of bread, and we're just giving crumbs to those who can't help themselves. We could go back and renegotiate some of these deals and claw back money to help the people that need help. But don't dare go back to your constituents and look them in the eye and say you did everything you could for those kids that can't help themselves. Thank you.
Representative Bradley, this is your second time speaking. You have 4 minutes and 59 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, and thank you to the representative from Douglas County. I just want to add that the good representative from Mesa told you guys we're on an unsustainable path in our growth of Medicaid. We have grown an entitlement program that is unsustainable. So if providers and the disabled community are on the chopping block today and this year, who's next? Thank you.
Representative Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. It's almost Friday. Members, I wanted to reiterate some of the couple points that I made yesterday here in regards to this specific supplemental. I will not reiterate some of the points that my colleagues just said because it is important to highlight that we are headed towards an unsustainable path with the entitlement program. But I also understand that many people in my district depend on the services like Medicaid and my providers in my district. I know all of you haven't, but specifically, I also want to highlight the importance of our rural hospitals. I think rural hospitals are on the hook for this, and I really generally worry about not only our rural hospitals, but our community health centers that this would be impacted. I have heard from people in my district, I have heard from constituents, I've heard from providers, and I have heard from people across the state of Colorado. I'm sure you have gotten some of those emails as well, but I just wanted to go on the record that despite the fact that we have to make cuts, I think we are making cuts in places that otherwise would be detrimental to the people of Colorado. I think we can find these cuts elsewhere, and I just want to reiterate that our providers are really concerned about the effects of this specific supplemental that we are wishing to address here today. For those reasons, I will be a no, but I also want to just go on record for my district to say that I don't want any part of these cuts that will affect my community health centers, that will affect the patients in my district. And so I will stand with my district, I will stand with my providers, I will stand with my community health centers, and I urge everybody to vote no on the supplemental. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. All right, so 1.6%. That 1.6% sounds wafer thin, right? That's on top of the 22.5% that was lost under Bidenomics from the infusion of artificial money called debt, with absolutely no economic growth to support it. So this is a 1.6% cut on top of a 22.5% cut. And this was after the state raked in about 4 times as much property tax by getting rid of Gallagher and then saying that wasn't enough. So again, we're here talking about priorities. Now, I was a little distracted and I didn't get to discuss the 1153 on schools or 1154 about the Office of Frivolous Spending. But we at some point need to grapple with our priorities. And when our priorities are a film festival, our priority is a film festival. That's where you're spending the money. Not providers for the least of these, the ones that can't, the ones that are really downtrodden. The priority is a film festival. That's what you're telling the constituents of Colorado. I cannot think of a better way to say I hate Coloradans than that. We spend money on wolves, on hellhounds, spend money on hellhounds and demon weasels, millions of dollars, used to punish the agriculture and clear the way for more green grift, which, thank God, ends today. Can't wait to see that whole rug pulled out from underneath that grift. Now, I don't know what that's going to do to the budget because hundreds of millions of dollars are already allocated for that, because that's a priority. That is dogma. That is a religion. Sundance Film Festival. We have a $1.1 billion deficit. So what are we doing? The first thing out of the door is we're spending millions of dollars more, hundreds of millions of dollars more. Are we taking apart the budget and finding out where this fraud is? No, because we already know where the fraud is, because those things were baked into the program when they were written. The purpose of those programs was to marginally supply some sort of benefit while enabling all sorts of fraud and grift, because that was built into the program. On the backs of citizens, when you thought that it could go on forever because we had a $4.5 billion deficit, or we had a $4.5 billion surplus. Blew through that. Blew through a $4 billion surplus. $4 billion worth of certificates of participation. There's $8 billion. We're at a $1 billion deficit right now. We're approaching $10 billion in a state that should have no debt. And what are we doing on day one? We're spending millions and hundreds of millions of dollars more, except when it comes to the providers that take care of the least of these, who cannot take care of themselves, who cannot assure life, liberty, and proper pursuit of happiness for themselves. Those people we undercut so that we can fund a film festival. $1.6% on top of 22.5%. Now we're talking about real money. We're talking about undercutting these people. We're talking about undercutting the citizens of Colorado, and your focus, your priority is 100%, 100% on frivolous spending. Because you don't want to take apart the budget. We should be doing nothing in this room except talking about the nuts and bolts of every single program, taking them apart, going line by line down through that budget instead of glibly spending more of the citizens' money, most of which is going to go to fraud. So increasing funding, but decreasing funding for the people who care for the least of these, I can't do it. I can't grasp how the mental processes in this room work. When the priority of the budget priority is in this room is hellhounds, demon weasels, green grift, averted births. Those are the priorities of this room. Striking down the very image of God, the limitless value of the soul, as we heard yesterday. I cannot think of a better way to say that a certain party hates Coloradans than this budget process.
Again, members, a reminder, we don't need to characterize each other's emotions, intentions. We can speak to these pieces of legislation from our own perspective. Thank you. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I did speak on this on second reading, so I'll keep this quite short. I appreciate the good work of our JBC. But what is troubling is that the department didn't spend more time trying to find other solutions. The department knows their own budget the best. This is something that I would like to see us vote no on, to ask KickPuff to go back to the drawing board and to come up with other ideas to work with our JBC that isn't just a rolling back of the 1.6 increase that we had, that isn't a knocking down to an 85% of the actual cost of our providers. There's a lot more work that we can do here. And being the chairman of a rural hospital that's struggling, like many of our rural hospitals, the cuts that are included here are going to hurt, and they're really, really going to hurt. I would like to see us do no harm. Your zip code shouldn't determine your health outcomes, and certainly poor Coloradans deserve healthcare too. And when hospitals have to start deleting service items, the result is Coloradans who need healthcare won't get it. Thank you.
AML Bacon.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Speaker. I was trying to just get a little bit prepared to speak. I wanted to talk a little bit about some statistics. So, members, I think today we are in a position to make a very difficult decision or not, and I wanted to speak to what I heard earlier. Also, thank you. I just heard from our colleague from Delta County talk about the work that JBC has to do. I know that the ongoing work of our government between the executive and the legislative branches are to be sure that we are spending dollars effectively aligned to our values and that we do have a duty to root out fraud. I want to talk about what we heard earlier in regards to some of the issues of where there's alleged fraud or even is fraud, and it's not going unnoticed. In fact, I've been grateful to hear from my colleague from Douglas County to talk about her experience, particularly as a provider. But I don't want us to misunderstand a few things. We have been told nationally that we need to root out fraud, and what we got was H.R. 1. We got cuts to healthcare, and we got cuts to SNAP. And even if we're talking about $2 or $3 million, which, yes, every cent is important, it pales in comparison to the hundreds of millions of dollars that we are no longer getting, plus the money we have to spend to administer these changes. And I don't want us to get lost in that, because we are talking about the closure of hospitals. We are talking about disenrolling people from Medicaid. Colorado has done a lot to support caregivers. In fact, we are the highest state in amount that we support caregivers. That's what we did with our values. And with the passage of H.R. 1, we can no longer do what we wanted to do to support caregivers. That is why we are here. The cut that JBC did is still above the national average because we want to support as much as we can afford here. I also want to be very clear of who is now forced to be disenrolled because of H.R. 1. And it is vulnerable people. My community is disproportionately impacted. According to our own agency, 7,000 lawfully present immigrants will lose Medicaid coverage. We are concerned about 14,000 people losing coverage. Not to even mention the caregiver conversation, which we have included the community to walk through and talk through. Also, members, this is a supplemental. The long bill will be in front of us in a couple of weeks where we can continue to have these conversations. We have made it clear what we value. We have made it clear in this building and outside. Thank you, and I'll digress just for a little bit, to cover SNAP, because that was also an impact of H.R. 1, where we have to cover it, and have our counties figure out how they're going to do that work at a cost. And so I want us to bring it back to this. I can appreciate any attempt to prioritize. This is not about a film festival. It's not. But I have every ounce of respect for anyone to bring to us an opportunity. I had a whole commentary on DOC yesterday for the same point. But I will not allow anyone to believe that we do not care about vulnerable communities. And I want everyone to understand why we are even having this conversation. Why? We will not sweep anything under the rug with 1 or 2 programs that, yes, we need to stay on top of. But $4 million don't equal $400 million. It doesn't. And we have to be the bearers, but so does everybody else in this room. Because when I think about who represents rural communities, I take my behind down there to see and support. But that provider rate is going to impact them the most. It is. And we, some of us, are willing to call it out loud and do everything that we can. So I'm going to stop here because I'm sure I'm going to have to respond. Because we have all been through it since August at our town halls with our congressional delegation. We care. Our JBC has had to literally do the Lord's work, and to the extent that they could support these families still above the national average, we are doing that, and we are aware, but we hope everyone else is too. It matters. That vote in DC was lost by 8. And this is our job, Colorado. We will do it today, and we're going to do it again in a couple of weeks. We have put on the table who we care about. We will do our best work. But it's not about $700,000. It's about $400 million, if not more. That is a fact. And by the way, on behalf of supporting small businesses, who we all claim are Main Street, we need to help people employ people so they can afford health care. So yeah, we make investments in other places for the big picture. That's what the responsibility is of many of us who govern here. We envy no one for having to do it, but we will. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative DeGraff, this is your second time to speak to the bill. You have 3 minutes, 40 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll try not to take all that time. All right, I keep hearing H.R. 1. H.R. 1 is an address to that we have a $35 trillion debt. We have a $35 trillion debt, and we are diverging from good governance by $1.78 trillion every year. That means we're not getting closer. That means we're getting farther away. I don't like that, no matter who's doing it. But that's a fact. And when $1 trillion is cut, that is just a fact. And then when we can't absorb that, when we've gone through the billions of dollars of excess that we had and then blow through that, what we're saying is we cannot balance our budget. Something has to change. Now, the thing with SNAP, that only changed work rules for individuals under the age of 65 with children over 14. That they would be required to do 20 hours of work or 20 hours of volunteering each week, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. I thought that would at least resonate. The deficit, we have SNAP. That was not a cut. It is an open-ended spending program. There is no limit on the spending. It was merely an adjustment for able-bodied adults to do able-bodied adulting things, working. What we're talking about is spending. What H.R. 1 did is it limited the spending with money that did not exist, imaginary money. And so now you're not just addicted to other people's money who are here. It's an addiction to other people's money who aren't even born yet, if they're allowed to be born. Spending other people's money in the realm of debt is not just reaching into the pockets of the future, it's assigning them It's assigning them extra because now they're incurring debt and they're accumulating interest against themselves at an accelerating pace. You're not just reaching into the pockets of one citizen to legislate from another and saying, well, you don't have the ability to invest in anything. Any investments that are made out of this room are reached into the pocket of one person and then put into the pocket of another. That is how spending in this room works. No matter how good you feel about it, it is legislating from one pocket to another. So we need to stop spending imaginary money.
Representative, you have 45 seconds.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We need to stop spending imaginary money. We need to stop spending money that belongs to citizens in the future. We need to stop pretending like we can just reach into those pockets ad infinitum with no consequences. If it can't go on forever, it won't. That is the general rule. Now, the best thing to do is to stop that plan before it fails catastrophically. But all we're doing is we're just taking the fast track to nowhere and trying to hit the end of the rail as fast as we can. We need to get a control of this spending, but not on the backs of the least of these.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When I came into office, this body passed a long bill, and for those in the gallery, that means a state budget, an annual budget of $34.7 billion. That was in 2021. This last year, for fiscal year 2025-2026, this body passed a $46.7 billion budget. That's a growth of nearly $12 billion over 5 years. When you look at this handy-dandy book that we were given about supplementals and the summary of the bills we're voting on today, you'll note that the book is 90 pages long, and 18 of those pages encompasses this particular department. That's 20% of this book. If you look at how much this body appropriated to HCPF in the long bill last year, that's over $18 billion. And with this supplemental, they're asking for nearly $1 billion more. In fact, when you take into account all of the reductions that are being made by departments across the board, the total amount that we are being asked to increase the budget by is actually less than what this department is asking us to increase the budget by. This is where the majority of our spending is spent. And the question for me becomes, is this just government? Now, this is one of the perennial debates between the two parties. What is the role of government? And you have heard me say before, I do not believe it is the role of government to provide these services. I support the concept of institutional pluralism. The notion that there are multiple institutions within society that work as an ecosystem in order to provide an environment for thriving. And when any one institution steps out of bounds and either takes over another institution's tasks or refrains from doing its tasks, the situation falls apart. The blueprint that was designed at the beginning of time for how humans are supposed to interact with each other breaks down. And we come to moments of crisis like this one. We were already on a path well before the current president got elected, well before H.R. 1, that said this was unsustainable. And that's consistent with the founding ideas and principles that uphold institutional pluralism. When you violate God's design, it doesn't work. When you ignore reality, it falls apart eventually. We were already on the way towards the eventually. And I know that there are some situations related to H.R. 1 that will impact us. The truth is, though, they haven't impacted us yet. You all know better than anyone that there are effectiveness dates. There are things that come into play at certain times. And with respect to H.R. 1 and healthcare policy, it is my understanding that the only thing that has come into effect that is actually impacting on us right now with respect to healthcare policy is the need to update some software. These problems we were going to face in any case. Now, they might be made more complicated by revenue streams that we will see as April 15th approaches, but for now, this was a conversation we were going to have anyways. And so while I'm not making an argument for you all to vote, I'm pretty well convinced of what the board is going to look like. I do want to talk to the gallery and to the people who are watching at home. You see, healthcare is important. People having the services they need is essential. What has been discussed about the disability community is so important for all of us to understand. But there is coming a time, and it is not too far off in the future, when both the federal government and the state government, because of the decisions that have been made over the decades, can no longer provide these services. Services they were never supposed to be providing to begin with. That was a responsibility that we as citizens, through charities and churches and loving our neighbor, were supposed to pick up. And we have to stop relying on this body to love our neighbor for us. We have to start creating parallel institutions. We have to start once again giving to hospitals. We have to once again engage, not just with the taxes that we pay or with the expectation of a law being passed, but with our own hands and feet. There is only so much money. And while there are some in this building who would be completely fine, it seems, with taxing people into oblivion and removing all private property and just having this body apportion dollars, the reality is, even if that were the case, and this body had control over every single dollar and every single piece of property, it still would not be enough. Because the fact of the matter is, it's not how it was designed to be. Loving each other and caring for each other and providing healing to each other was supposed to be a relationally based, community-based mechanism. It was not supposed to be filtered through a government, through bills, through transactions, through pieces of paper where there is no human touch. Now, this is not the reality we live in right now, but it was the reality for many a decade in prior generations. And were there problems during the Great Depression? We can have that argument. We don't have enough time. But when the government stepped into this space initially, it was supposed to be as the ultimate safety net. And now, as a colleague of mine said yesterday, it has become the hammock. It has become almost the sole provider. And it's not working. People continue to clamor and say, I can't afford health care. And the health care that I can barely afford barely covers anything. The whole system is broken. And all of us acknowledge that. The question is, will we once again go back to the root design and acknowledge the Creator who said, do it this way and not that way? Or will we continue down a path that is unsustainable and that, in a literal sense, leads increasingly to death? I encourage the gallery, I encourage those listening at home to choose the former. And I encourage this body to continue having conversations such that we can make it easier for them to do that. I ask for a no vote.
Representative English? Representative Bacon? Representative Sirota?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are here because last year we balanced our budget, and then in July, the Congress passed H.R. 1, which reduced revenue to the state by roughly $1.2 billion. And as a result, we have supplemental actions this year that are significant, that look far outsized from what we have had to grapple with in the past. And I can tell you, if you don't like these cuts, wait till you see what H.R. 1 is going to do in another year or two when the provider fee, the hospital provider fee, starts to get reduced. Wait till you see what happens to our hospitals then. But that's to come. In the meantime, we not only have to grapple with the impacts of H.R. 1, but also a structural deficit that is occurring in part due to Tabor and in part due to uncontrollable health care costs in this country. And that is reflected in our state budget in large part in our Medicaid program. But the same is happening in private health care. It is happening across the board. I agree with my colleague. The healthcare system in this country is broken. But we still have our constitutional obligation to balance our budget. And we are still working very hard to prioritize protecting the most vulnerable among us as we have to balance this budget. I think people are missing the forest for the trees a little bit here in what we are grappling with and the rate at which healthcare costs have been increasing year over year over year. And we are now at a point in this supplemental where Medicaid forecasts came in $222 million higher than expected in general fund costs. And these increases are partially offset by implementing a number of changes within the executive order to, yes, include across the board and targeted rate reductions, implementing prepayment reviews and some prior authorization requirements, increasing utilization controls, delaying program implementation dates, and interventions to crack down on improper or fraudulent billing by providers. Not the department that is committing the fraud. It is providers out there committing the fraud. You could cut out the general fund from 10 or 15 of our state departments and still not cover the increases that we are seeing in our Medicaid program. If you want to bring these costs into control, you have three options. You can change eligibility so that fewer people are eligible for services. You can pay less for those services, or you can eliminate some of the services that are provided. This supplemental budget and the executive order we worked very, very hard to ensure that we are doing the least harm so that, yes, providers are seeing rate reductions, but I think that's better than individuals not being covered at all and those providers having to address uncompensated care. We are making changes to some of the benefits because they are growing at an unsustainable pace. 6% of the Medicaid population is driving 40% of the costs. To not address that, it's unsustainable. I didn't run for office to have to do this work. Yet here we find ourselves. I'm very grateful for the work that everyone has done in the department, within the disability community, having worked hand in glove with one of the organizations that represents individuals and are individuals with disabilities, to ensure that the reductions, the cuts that we are making are targeted so we are preserving what matters most to the disability community in Medicaid. That is what we have been doing. I know this is difficult. I know this is difficult for everyone. It has been difficult for us as we have sat through months and months and months of testimony. We are hearing from and meeting with individuals impacted by these cuts. But we are doing so in the best way we know how, to try and minimize the impact on individuals, to make sure that they are still able to receive services, but bringing some of these benefits more in line with what is happening across the country, with what people are eligible for in other states. I appreciate your heartache. We are all human beings here. I feel it too. But we have to do this. We have to meet our constitutional obligation, and we are doing it in the best way we can to protect the most vulnerable across all departments, all of the citizens of Colorado, all the people of Colorado. So while I understand it's painful, I ask you to please vote yes on this supplemental as we work very hard to protect the vulnerable in Colorado.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank my good colleague from Denver for her work as chair of the JBC through perhaps the most difficult budget times that certainly anyone in this building has ever seen. Medicaid is a third of our overall budget. It is hard for us to balance our books without talking about Medicaid. I will also point out that Colorado is getting older and we are getting sicker. Two things that, when you control for population growth according to the Tabor cap, it does not account for. Despite the $90 million in cuts that we propose in this particular supplemental, we are actually adding $1 billion to healthcare spending through this bill. $1 billion worth of healthcare will be provided to the most vulnerable, to low-income families across Colorado, to working families across Colorado because of this bill. But in order for us to make changes and balance our budget, we have to rethink the way that we are providing that care. The increases in our Medicaid budget are unsustainable, as my colleague has indicated. Double-digit increases in the program for the last half dozen years far exceed the Tabor cap and how it is growing, which means that over time, we will be left with a state budget that is nothing but Medicaid. So we have to bend the cost curve so that we can continue to fund schools and roads and all the other programs that everyone in this chamber cares about and that impact people's lives and allow working families to succeed. We have worked with the disability community, as my colleague indicated. We have heard from families. I sat down with affected families just recently in my district, and they told me their stories, and it was heartbreaking. Many cuts were proposed by the governor, and we rejected some of them in this supplemental package. We rejected those that we thought we couldn't stomach at this particular time. We continue to work with families. We continue to work with the disability community to put the HICPUF budget on a sustainable path. And we are going to do that with compassion and with empathy and ensuring the dignity for every person in Colorado. That is my commitment to you, and I know that is my colleagues' commitment to you all. We ask you for an aye vote on this supplemental.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1155 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 40 aye, 23 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1155 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1156.
House Bill 1156 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Higher Education.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1156 on third reading and final passage.
Assistant Minority Leader Winter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to come up and explain my vote on this. I'm going to be a no today. The government did this, or the governor did this by executive order, and I want to thank AML for bringing up rural Colorado and what we're facing. But at the end of the day, it pulls $567,000 from Colorado Rural Healthcare Workforce Initiative. We have trouble recruiting in our areas anyway. We try to home grow these individuals to stay in our areas, and I'm sure there's a lot of rural kids that come and work in your hospitals and your clinics. And then I look at all of the rural higher ed institutions that are getting money pulled from training these nurses, these rad techs, LPNs, RNs, and I just, in good conscience, a lot of these little colleges are in my district. It also pulls it from the community college system. And, we already have, the good representative from Douglas County already says we have a shortage of providers in this state as it is. And we're not going to be able, with the shortage, we're not going to be able to train more people. So for those reasons, I'm going to be a no. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1156 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 42 aye, 21 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1156 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1157.
House Bill 1157 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Human Services.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1157 on third reading and final passage.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1157 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 50 aye, 13 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1157 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1158.
House Bill 1158 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Judicial Department.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1158 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1158 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 56 aye, 7 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1158 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1159.
House Bill 1159 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Labor and Employment.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1159 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1159 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 53 aye, 10 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1159 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1160.
House Bill 1160 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Law.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1160 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1160 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 54 aye, 9 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1160 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1161.
House Bill 1161 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Local Affairs.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1161 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1161 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Hamrick. Please close the machine. With 56 ayes, 7 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1161 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1162.
House Bill 1162 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1162 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1162 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebo, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 63 ayes, 0 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1162 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1163.
House Bill 1163 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Natural Resources.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1163 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1163 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebo, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representatives DeGraff and Luck. Please close the machine. With 62 aye, 1 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1163 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to House Bill 1164.
House Bill 1164 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Personnel.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1164 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1164 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebo, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representatives DeGraff and Froelich. Please close the machine. With 43 aye, 20 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1164 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1165.
House Bill 1165 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Public Health and Environment.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1165 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1165 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 41 aye, 22 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1165 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1166.
House Bill 1166 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Public Safety.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1166 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1166 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 60 aye, 3 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1166 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1167.
House Bill 1167 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move House Bill 1167 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1167 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 43 aye, 20 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1167 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1168.
House Bill 1168 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Revenue.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1168 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1168 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 49 aye, 14 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1168 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1169.
House Bill 1169 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of State.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1169 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1169 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 43 aye, 20 no, 2 excused, House Bill 1169 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1170.
House Bill 1170 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Transportation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1170 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1170 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote? Representative Ricks, you are on mute.
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 56 ayes, 7 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1170 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1171.
House Bill 1171 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of the Treasury.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1171 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1171 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 46 ayes, 17 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1171 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1172.
House Bill 1172 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning funding for capital construction and making supplemental appropriations in connection therewith.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1172 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1172 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Weinberg. Please close the machine. With 55 aye, 8 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1172 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1173.
House Bill 1173 by Representative Sirota, also Senator Bridges, concerning funding for capital construction information technology and making supplemental appropriations in connection therewith.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1173 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1173 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 60 aye, 3 no, 2 excused, House Bill 1173 is adopted. Co-sponsors.
What's going on back there?
Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1174.
House Bill 1174 by Representatives Brown and Taggart, also Senators Amabile and Kirkmeyer, concerning adjustments to school funding for the 2025-26 budget year and in connection therewith, reducing an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1174 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, how many of you love your public schools? Woohoo, yeah, I know you do. I know you do. And I know that you don't want to see them close. And so, what I, again, am going to just reiterate today from yesterday, you will note that this appropriation is $33.5 million less than what we gave out at the end of last year for this year's budget. Why? Because there are 7,500 less students in seats. In large part because there are 75, or in large part because there are less kids alive, which means we have the task of encouraging our districts, if we love our public schools and we want them to continue forward, to reproduce. That's right. Everybody encourage your folks to get out there and have more babies. Because if we don't have babies, we don't have students in seats, and in years to come, we don't have taxpayers, we don't have sales clerks, we don't have innovators and entrepreneurs, and that whole problem of Colorado aging and getting sicker just gets worse. So be sure to get back into your districts and encourage folks to have more kids.
And that public service announcement was brought to you by Representative Luck. Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the passage of House Bill 1174 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Zokai is excused and fined $1. Thank you, members. The session is long. Please close the machine. 54 aye, 8 no, and 3 excused. House Bill 1174 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1175.
House Bill 1175 by Representatives Brown and Sirota, also Senators Burgess and Kirkmeyer, concerning spending from the State Education Fund for specified educational purposes and in connection therewith, permitting appropriations from the State Education Fund for the Colorado Teacher of the Year program, and requiring appropriations from the State Education Fund for specified purposes in support of the Colorado READ Act, discontinuing annual transfers to cash funds from the State Education Fund for the same, and repealing the cash funds.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1175 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1175 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 63 ayes, 0 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1175 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1176.
House Bill 1176 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Amabile and Bridges, concerning modifications to the fourth-year Innovation Pilot Program and in connection therewith, reducing an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1176 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1176 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 63 ayes, 0 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1176 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1177.
House Bill 1177 by Representatives Brown and Taggart, also Senators Amabile and Kirkmeyer, concerning ending wage enhancement supplemental payments to nursing home providers and in connection therewith, reducing an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1177 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1177 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Brooks DeGraff Luck. Please close the machine. With 60 aye, 3 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1177 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1178.
House Bill 1178 by Representatives Brown and Sirota, also Senators Amabile and Kirkmeyer, concerning the Comptroller's allowance of expenditures in excess of appropriations.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1178 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1178 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 44 aye, 19 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1178 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1179.
House Bill 1179 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning a transfer from state fiscal year 2025-26 from the general fund to the Information Technology Capital account of the Capital Construction Fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1179 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1179 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Please close the machine. With 58 aye, 5 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1179 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to lay over the balance of the calendar till Friday, February 13th, 2026.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until tomorrow. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until later today.